Welcome to Spirits Are Talking, hosted by Lisa Silverman. Join us every Tuesday night for live on-air psychic medium readings, crystal energy healings, oracle card readings, chakra balancing, and so much more. Host Lisa Silverman is a natural-born intuitive, psychic, medium, and spiritual life coach, working professionally in the metaphysical healing arts since 2015. Lisa communicates with loved ones and pets that have passed on for emotional healing and answers. Not to mention, she is an established interior designer since 2009, focusing on feng shui, modern design, and house healings by creating a harmonious energy flow for her clients. Now, your host of Spirits Are Talking, Lisa Silverman.
Hi, thank you so much for joining me tonight on April 25th, 2023. Wow, spring is here. I just want to, first of all, thank you so much because you could be anywhere in the world and you're choosing to be with me tonight, whether it's on TikTok, Facebook, live streaming here on WLTK-DB Talk Radio. So I appreciate it so much. You know, we all have something to say, and I'm so excited about my guest tonight, and I'll invite him up in a few minutes. I'm just, you know, we all have something to say, and our words are important, and what we need to say is, you know, what needs to come out. And so I've chosen to come on and do podcasting with my guest, who's the producer and the founder of WLTK-DB Talk Radio, which is a collective of amazing people who have different stories in the spiritual realms, whether it's paranormal, psychic mediums, energy healings, all kinds of things. So I think you'll find that so interesting if you go check it out. And we'll put a link up, or Todd will talk about that in a minute. But again, I want to welcome you. If you're new to me, I'm a psychic medium. I was born this way since I was about 8, when I could feel my great grandmother after she passed away. And then in my journey of spirituality and studying with my mom, who's very spiritual, and Louise Hay, who they both rest in peace, turned me onto my spiritual path. So if you go to spiritualtalking.com, you can hear the podcast about how I came out of the spiritual closet with Joe, read the article. So I do this as well as interior design, and I love interior design. But we all have a calling. We all have a purpose in our lives. And sometimes we maybe get off track, or, you know, say, what is my purpose? You know, it comes to you. Your purpose will always find you. So if you're saying to yourself, I don't know what my purpose is, I don't know my path, it will find you. It like it found me, and like it found my guest, who will be on in a minute, Todd Bates. So your purpose will always find you. We're in the middle of Mercury retrograde. Well, in the middle, we're about a week into it or so, even though there's a shadow period. And I just want to talk about Mercury retrograde just for a brief moment, because Mercury retrograde is when we're supposed to slow down, revisit, review, relook, and recharge a little bit. But it's also a time when your electronics go haywire, when you could possibly have flights delayed, when communication emails go funky, or you don't hear back from people. So just be mindful and don't rush during these next few weeks. That's my recommendation to you about this Mercury retrograde. You may run late. Be easy on yourself. People from your past will come up out of the blue in your life. It happened to me yesterday. It was so funny. I was like, what? Someone I haven't talked to in a while shows up. So people will come up from your past, and just be mindful. And if your electronics aren't working well, restart, reboot. We can reboot. That's what's great. Every second in your life, you can just take a reboot. So I'm going to pull a card as a collective for all of us tonight. Whoever's watching, whether it's tonight or another time, when you get this message, it's meant for you. at that particular time. So again, thank you so much for joining me, Lisa Silverman, Spirits Are Talking. Please follow me on all my social media at Spirits Are Talking. And there's no extra L's. There's a lot of fake accounts. Please don't get scammed. I will never DM you on any platform for money. If you want to book a session with me, you have to go to spiritsaretalking.com and get on the calendar. And that's how we do it. And then it's all through the back end. So I'm going to pull a card as a collective with all this energy. We're in an eclipse season, so there's a lot of serious endings, along with Mercury retrograde and Pluto changing signs. I'm not a full-blown astrologer, and I love astrology, but there's been a lot of activity in the sky, and I thought it would be a great time right now to open up the circle, if you will, with a card for all of us out of my new favorite oracle deck, the Dreamweaver's Oracle by Colette Baron-Reid. I've been studying with Colette for about 6 years now. I'm probably never leaving. She's an oracle card, amazing oracle card person who has probably about 12 to 16 decks. I'm not exactly sure. So what are oracle cards? Oracle cards are truth tellers. They're a divination system that taps into the higher consciousness and gives us messages through the oracle. And they've been around for years. And they are very different than a tarot. And I love tarot cards. I still have my deck from when I was a teenager. I'm not a tarot reader per se. I'm an oracle card reader. And I've studied for years with oracle cards. The oracle cards tap into your story in motion. So anyone who's joining us tonight, whether it's live or in a replay, this message hopefully will be for you. If it's not for you, then it's not for you. Take what resonates and leave the rest. That's what we should do. So what do we need to know going through this turbulent, interesting, kind of chaotic time in the skies? How do we stay grounded? And what do we need to know how do we stay grounded and not in chaos or conflicts? Okay. What do we need to know for our highest good? Okay. I'm shuffling the cards. If you're listening, you can get this downloaded on wherever you get your podcasts from at spiritsaretalking.com. Spirits Are Talking. Here we go. What do we need to know? How do we need to navigate these skies to stay grounded? Okay. Oh my goodness. And this is new. This deck is new to me, so I don't know other cards. If the wild ones come with sticks, is the card. Interesting. I'm showing it. If the wild ones come with sticks, it's card number 12, which is interesting, that number. And this beautiful deck is done with a lot of really great hand-done art. This is interesting. Essential meaning: navigate self-talk, self-criticism, harsh judgment of self and others, and gossip. Sometimes we find ourselves behind enemy lines in our own heads. Are you noticing your thoughts being negative and unkind? Do you feel the frustration of not being enough, not being perfect, or not getting what you want when you want it? Can you easily get lost down a rabbit hole of unhappiness, wallowing in negativity and harsh judgment of yourself? And then can you project that outward? Could you be comparing yourself to others and feeling resentful? Sometimes these relentless ambition that drives you forward keeps you only focused on what you don't have. And yet here it is. You have all that you need. It's right there. This energy manifests inside and will show up in the outer world as evidence. Give no energy to negativity. It's not your friend. This is a time to really have positive, high-vibing thoughts. Now is the time to remove yourself from this destructive energy and focus on loving yourself with radical acceptance, understanding, forgiveness, and detachment, and you avoid harsh judgments of others too. So step away from gossip, ignore the drama, nasty comments that are splashed all over social media. Remember that no one and no situation is perfect. So give yourself and others the space and the grace to be human. I love this. The universe loves you so much and you're in the right place. Remember, this too shall pass. So if you're going through it, right? Notice and say, hey, what's the opposite of you're not good enough? I'm enough, right? Catch yourself. This is a time where Mercury is ruled by, communication. So it's not just the outward communication, it's totally the communication in our head. I'm a Virgo. We're ruled by Mercury, and Virgos are known for critical self-talk. And I've been training myself to know I'm going to do the opposite of what I'm thinking. So anyway, I want to welcome everyone in. Thank you all for joining me. Hi, everybody. I see you. Whew, I'm going to take a breath, and I can't wait. Now I'm going to welcome my guest, who is the founder of WLTK-DB Talk Radio. His name is Todd Bates, and he's very interesting. He is involved in the paranormal. I have some great questions to ask him, and I want to dive deep. And before I bring him up, I really hope that card resonates with you, all about loving yourself even more and putting yourself first and starting within your mind, and that know that the universe always has your back. And if you're going through it, like you probably are, remember, this too shall pass. And so I'd like to welcome my guest, Todd Bates, to my show, who's the producer. Hi, Todd.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having me. This is amazing.
Thank you for being with me. This is amazing. I'm so grateful. So I was introduced to Todd by Brandon Wainwright, who wrote this beautiful book on called Tyson's Gift, about his relationship with his dog and spirituality, and his sessions with me are in the book and with other people. And so that's how I met Todd. And so Todd is I'm so grateful for you, because I tell you, I always get a little nervous before I come on here. I never do on my other social medias platforms, but I love your voice. And so you have such a great voice too. I mean, you're a lovely human being, but you do a lot of broadcasting. Isn't that right?
That's right. I've kind of got a bouncy career path, if you would call it.
Let's hear it.
But my goodness, all this started way back in 2002, and I'm a skeptic. I'll say this first and foremost. I did believe that there were life on other planets. I've always believed that, but ghosts, Bigfoot,
what about UFOs,
Loch Ness, UFOs, yes, I believed in those as well. Mm-hmm. A little skeptical of them because of the photos and things I saw, but what interested me the most was this whole ghost thing. I started getting into that and went on a tour years ago and captured what's called an EVP, or electronic voice phenomenon. It's a disembodied voice, basically. Mediums, you guys can hear, and it's I'm as sensitive as a brick, so I need a piece of equipment. So I use a recorder.
Yeah, whatever works.
But what had happened was I'd went on a tour and I'd captured something on my recorder that night. Didn't hear it with my naked ear. I got home and processed it on the computer, because you don't hear it in real time normally, not with those anyway. So I put it up on the computer, and lo and behold, there is this sound that came across, and it was of an animal, a horse.
Wow.
That came across that recorder. I didn't hear anything, and it was and then 2 foot stomps.
Wow.
And it's on a cassette tape and a storage tote. Never. Oh, it's when you get your first one, it's just
right. And an animal's interesting.
Yeah, and that's what I thought as well. Because
I
was in an old barn.
I knew it.
They went to the general store area where the murder and everything took place. I was drawn to this old barn back in the back, and that's where I sat on top of the wood pile and asked my questions. Well, what got me going, the skeptical part of me said, okay, you're hearing this now. You didn't hear it then. So this can't be true. This just can't be.
The ego sets in, the ego mind.
And I let it get in the way back then a lot, and doubted a lot of my evidence, the data I captured and things. But what spiraled me through the entire paranormal career was not knowing how or why. And I've always been one for not necessarily total absolutes, but I like yes and no's. I like things to be answered,
And that's one question I couldn't answer.
Interesting.
I became so obsessed with it, Lisa.
Wow. There's so many things in the invisible that we don't know. And that's the beauty of it, right? That we can't make black or white. That just is, you
Yeah.
know?
And that's something I had to tell myself was just
Mhm.
that. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And once I had that mindset, so many things I wish would have changed, but they've made me what I am today. And I feel they've made me a stronger person, all these things.
Mhm.
But one of the things I did, I did a lot of investigations. I've been just all over the place, here and there. I've had my time. I had to retire from the field,
The
uh,
field of,
the paranormal field,
oh,
because I
really?
became too obsessed with it.
Oh,
Now
interesting.
I still go out.
Uh-huh.
I still go out there, but I'm not. I don't have a team anymore. I don't. I had to
Right.
give up some things. I had to make some sacrifices because some people can go out and research for hours and hours on end and get nothing, and they're okay with it. And I learned to be okay with it, but I knew something was there. That's
Right.
what kept driving me. Um, and then I would start to get evidence, more evidence, more data would come in, but I still didn't know why. I still didn't get the answers I was looking for that I was asking. If I ask you a question, uh, what's it like on the other side, for example, and I get no response, well, that kind of defeats the purpose. So I became obsessed with getting the response.
Right. The instant gratification of it.
Mhm. And it's wrong to do that. I needed to settle down, which I did in time,
Mm-hmm.
go with the flow, practice different methods of recording, because that's basically all I did. I mean, I did some photography, some video, but
Mm-hmm.
mostly it was audio recording. And the obsession became so bad, Lisa. I had no one to turn to because this was kind of taboo still back then. It's not something you call your buddy up and talk about,
Yeah.
because they're going,
Right.
whoa. Uh, so I went to a priest
Uh-huh.
years ago and asked him because I was raised Catholic,
Excuse me.
and I asked him. I said, "Is this normal? Me having this curiosity and me talking to these spirits that aren't there?" And he says, "Oh, but my son, they are there." And I just kind of looked at him like, "You're kidding me." And he reassured me that what I was doing was okay. It was curiosity. There's no hell or damnation or
No.
anything like
Right.
that for what I was doing. So that lifted my spirits, motivated me a little bit to get more out there, and did some pretty dark cases.
I wanted to ask you, excuse me for interrupting.
Hmm?
So, how does the process work? Like, I'm a medium, and so the process works. I call them in, or they just come to me, and I'm very porous and open. And recently, I've just been throwing readings out there with people I have no idea or no. So, for you, do you go to like a specific place where there was like a violent thing that happened? Because I don't dabble in the violent. They share with me when I do mediumship to find the the recordings, the spirits that you're looking for. Is there something tragic in that area of where you go? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes complete sense. I did a lot of residential investigations. I did more residential than businesses or anything like that. A lot of clients, but I would gather the data from there, of course. But the place that I went to the most, to that I knew I would get evidence, I knew it was active. It was called the Sally House. It's in Atchison, Kansas. And prior to what it is now, it used to just sit there. Now people just basically a bed and breakfast, but now back then, I had a key to get in, and I would
Oh,
go in there and do some digging. Of course, I let the owner know, but I
right.
would do strange things. I would wake up at really strange hours and leave. pack my equipment, and leave to Kansas. This place was sucking me in, and it was part of my obsession
Uh-huh.
of finding this answer.
Right.
Which, now that I know they can respond, well, of course you can answer me if you can respond. Sure, it's that easy. No, it's not that easy. But I became obsessed with it, and that's what drove me to the next chapter of my life. And anybody that's in the paranormal field, I cannot stress this enough. Be careful when it comes to alcohol in this field.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about that because I'm not a big drinker and I do partake, but I never ever channel with alcohol.
Mhm.
It's what my guides have told me and everything. I just shut it down. And when I have a drink, it's one or two, but even one sip, I shut it down because it's a slippery slope with spirit. So that's where the darkness can come in. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's hear your experience, because I haven't had that, because I just
Well,
shut it down.
to clear it up and to add to the mix, I'm bipolar as well, so I'm a little off, so to speak. Some may say.
We all a little off.
I think we are, but with the with the investigations, I wouldn't get any answers, and like I said, I became obsessed. And I couldn't go to sleep at night. I was laying awake, going over data, reading the history of this next location, reading this, doing this, having everything laid out. But guess what it drove me to? It drove me to calm down and to shut my head off. Hey, let's try some drink. Let's try some Jim Beam and see if that calms the mind.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was my go-to. Now, I never did, and I can honestly say this, thank God, is I never went on an investigation intoxicated. This was always
that's good.
after. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Never did that.
Because if you did, you'd have some darkness come, I believe. Because they name alcohol after spirits. It's called spirits, right? Come for some spirits. It's like, why? Because people get so ripped, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think back in the day, right? And still now, but when they named it spirits, and that they would see things and see people from the other side. Do you agree with that or not?
Yeah, I would agree. You can hallucinate. You can see blue giraffes, pink elephants, whatever. It depends on
But
what
you
you're
can
drinking.
allow me to channel in a negative way. That's why it's spirit. So it's like dark and haunting.
Yes.
What I do is light and bright, if you will, in a different form. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. I do. And in our case, being a paranormal investigator, going into a location intoxicated, you're leaving yourself wide open.
That's what I would think.
Wide open for attacks, wide open for
Attachments.
you name it, attachments, you name it.
Yeah.
Which is probably what scared me not to do it.
That's great.
I knew that. I had enough sense for that, but it was a drive. It was so tough, and it's still tough to this day. I mean, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I will be for the rest of my life.
How long have you been in recovery?
October
Congratulations.
of 2019. I had a slip in 2019.
Okay. You got back on.
But 12 years sobriety prior.
That's great.
And it's tough.
Yeah.
You have hiccups and things, you have stresses, you have this and that. And what helped me was cross addicting into something that was safe. Something that wasn't going to, it was, okay, Todd, we've got to get some help. You're obviously here at your rock bottom. My colleagues that I worked with, they'd never see me that bad. And it got to the point where my rock bottom night was when I literally had to crawl home. I had a radio station in a little bowling center.
Oh, wow.
It was really cool. It was like a little mini mall. A lot of fun.
Open
bar. Bad. But they, the owner's like, sure, yeah, help yourself. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So that night, I literally had to crawl home. And that was about 5 blocks.
Wow.
because I stood up to leave and rolled my ankle, sprained my ankle, couldn't walk. Had to crawl home.
Mm.
Woke up on the floor. The front door of my
Wow.
home was still open. I'm on the floor, passed out. And I woke up feeling like garbage. I mean, just the worst I'd ever felt in my life. And that's when I this is it. Something
Good
is
for
wrong.
you.
Something has to be fixed. I need fixed. So I pushed myself up, went to the next door neighbor, and I said, Ben, I need a ride. and gladly they took me to treatment.
Good
And
for you.
that thank you.
That's awesome. I often hear literally that people that have gone through something like that awakening with alcoholism hits them when they're literally on the floor, literally on the ground, on the floor is their aha moment. It's not walking down the street or sitting in a chair. I've heard so many stories of the aha moment being on tile floor in the bathroom or literally.
Yeah.
So yeah, on
That's
the floor.
exactly what it was.
Your rock bottom.
I couldn't go forward. I couldn't go backward. All I could do was get help. I mean,
And
I
that's
had to scream
great.
for it. And you've got to scream for it. No one knows you need help unless you ask for it.
And for many people, that's the hardest thing is saying, "Hey, I need help," and being vulnerable enough to say, "Can you please help me?" And then doing it. So, yay for you!
Thank you.
We have all these comments that are saying, "Congratulations, good job, Todd. Forgiveness and grace." I have. Hi, I love his voice. It's amazing. That's from Selena. Jennifer, so proud of you, Todd. You made it. So yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you all so
Beautiful,
much.
beautiful. What's interesting for me about paranormal, which is very cool. I've always known about paranormal. I was raised with a very cool spiritual mother that was very in tune to UFOs, and I was exposed to a lot of stuff. Throughout my whole life. She was a Jewish mother, but she was very progressive. So I was, meditating at a young age and being exposed to paranormal things and UFOs I can't even think of the guy's name from way back she'd listen to in the middle of the night.
Probably Leonard Nimoy.
Yes, Leonard Nimoy. In search of, totally. She'd listen to him like 1, 2, 3 in the morning. And then another guy, not on Coast to Coast before. He was on Coast to Coast. What was his name?
George Norrie? Oh, Art Bell. Yeah.
That's throwing it back. So, but for me, and as a medium now, because I do mediumship with, loved ones and stuff, I've always felt that the paranormal was dark. Okay. A dark energy. And for me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what I know to be true, and souls, because I've been in haunted places, if you will. I don't really call them haunted. I call it stuck energy personally, because they're stuck there. And so I've gone and helped those souls that have been stuck in certain places for many, many years, 100 years in one case, and get them to the other side. Right. And then they're not there anymore. They're able to leave. So in some way, how would you find this, that the paranormal is a stuck soul in usually a traumatic area of event that happened, that is unable to leave, whether it's when they witnessed a child or their favorite horse maybe passing or something really traumatic and crazy, mind-blowing, and then they stay around. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, usually with there's theories out there that there's differences. You have ghosts and then you have spirits. Ghosts is a record of time. It could seep out over time through things that are absorbent, like limestone foundations and houses and bedrock, different things like that this energy can come out over time and people see it. Now, normally they don't interact with it because it's an image. It's just an old recording playing over and over and over. To where a spirit, some feel, and this is where I struggle, the going back and forth, because I haven't had any definiteness on that yet. But a spirit knows that they have passed, and they choose to come back and forth. They use free will to come back and forth.
Absolutely.
I've interacted with more ghosts than spirits. Now, I've had some direct answers to my questions. For example, what's your favorite color? One said red. So that's a sign of intelligence, which to me would tell me that's a spirit, not a ghost.
Interesting. Can I share what I think ghosts are?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, Casper, the friendly ghost. Remember Casper?
Oh, yeah.
So for me, I don't really work with ghosts because I've changed, I've grown up from Casper, if you will. And I love Casper, the friendly ghost. So for me, a ghost is a sense or like I see, feel, hear, taste, smell. I'm all the clairs, right? A ghost will come in a form. It can be audio, right? You can hear the ghost. It could also be visual. It's like a snapshot or a motion movement to get your attention. Oftentimes they are stuck. Right? And
9 times out of 10, yeah.
They need to be sent off. They don't go to the light. But what's interesting, because we all evolve, and when I think of ghosts, I really think of like the early 1900s and before, or maybe 1940s and before, let's say. Because I feel like we have all these indigo children. We're getting different people, souls coming back that have learned lessons and stuff. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Every word.
The ghosts from the past are from a long time ago. Now, because there's a lot of light workers, a lot of people have helped that stuck energy get to the other side so that they can evolve as a soul. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. And I wish, and I stress this, I know a lot of teams out there are scientific. I get it. Trust me, I get it. You want to know your variables. You want to know this. You want to know your answers. I get it. But I think more teams should use psychics and mediums.
Oh,
because
definitely.
You're going into a place, you've read a little history about it. You maybe you have a few names. Maybe you saw something on the news or whatever, or read something in the newspaper, what had happened there. But a medium can go in and feel and take that energy and feel. They learn and then they unlearn.
Yeah.
Where researchers go in and we go in with our equipment and we're learning and learning and learning. It's more like a doctor practicing medicine. We're never curing anything.
Right. Interesting.
We just keep putting those Band-Aids on, getting enough data to keep us going, keep us motivated.
And is the motivation knowing that there's life after death? Is that the motivation for getting the answers? Mm-hmm. That there is more to life than just right now, and the energies in all realms? Is that what you're seeking when you do that as a researcher?
A lot of it, yes. I'm
interesting.
Because there's so much out there, and I know that there's so much intelligence, and it's just not being. I don't feel it's being used. I don't feel.
We only. Excuse me for interrupting. We only use like 5% of our brain, or so, and so when we get into these different levels of consciousness, which is where where we grow, it's where our soul grows, connects to our brain in the lifetimes, right? And when like our calling, I had said in the very beginning of the podcast, comes to us, we have to be open to receive, because I did not think when I was, even 10 years ago that I'd be a known medium channeling loved ones for people besides my loved ones. Like, there's no way in hell I would know that,
It's a
it
lot.
came to me. It's a lot. Like, I'm happy doing my thing, listening to my loved ones, but I never thought in a million years. So same for you. It piqued an interest, and then that became your calling. And then let's talk about, and we can circle back.
Oh, sure.
But, I want to say thank you to all the comments. Interesting. People are saying interesting on the comments here. I can't see all the comments everywhere, but I appreciate you all being with us. I wanted to ask you another question. I want to know, how did your darkest times from that being on the floor and crawling turn into to your lightest times, and why?
Yeah. Let me, I had, in my book, The Haunted Voice, I talk about what had happened to me. I used to work corrections. I was a corrections officer for 6 years. I've had 2 dreams in my life, 2 dream careers. One was a law conservation officer. The second was I wanted to work in radio. I didn't care where, how, when, what. I just wanted one of those 2 things. Well, I had started out with one. I was building my career as a corrections officer, moving into law enforcement and so forth. I was put in charge of a cell house. It just
What's
happened
that?
to be the gangster house.
Okay, thank you. We're not all from where you're from, so explain the gangster
very, very bad place.
tough place.
I worked. Yeah, very
Wow.
maximum security prison.
Thank you.
There were a lot of prison gangs in there, and we were in training. We were trained about these prison gangs and things. But when you upset them, they make good on their word. I did a normal cell house shakedown of the cell to find contraband. I found some contraband in this guy's cell, took it, and he said, "That's okay, Bates. One of these days you'll see what it's like behind bars."
Wow.
Like, whatever. I hear these threats all the day. I'm arrogant, whatever. You can't touch me. I'm a corrections officer.
Mm-hmm. I'm in uniform.
Yeah. That's when you're most vulnerable, I think. When you're most vulnerable. They found my information. They found out where I lived. Wow. They were driving by the house. And I was married at the time. They had threatened my wife at the time. And then one stepped down one day and walked up to my desk. And he said, "Hey, Bates, how's your daughter Casey doing?" I said, "That's it. What do you want? I'm done. I'm done. You got me. You know her name. That's you can access my children. What do you want?" So we had to, or I had to deliver them what they called a package. I thought it was tobacco. It turned out I had to bring this in on my day of work. So I'm driving to work. I'm in full uniform. I'm supposed to meet somebody at a gas station. And it turned out to be an undercover police officer. And that tobacco that I thought turned out to be 2 3/4 ounces of cocaine.
Wow.
That was enough to give me 57 years in prison.
Wow.
That inmate made good on his word. Now,
wow. You
I
were
was
set
arrested.
Up completely set up.
Yeah. Total setup.
By the system and the gang.
By a gang called the Black Gangsters Disciples. Yes.
Wow. I'm so sorry. So then what happened after that?
Well, I get arrested, and of course I'm devastated. I'm in full uniform, guns to my head, thrown against my car. I'm not a violent guy.
Right.
But I understand the seriousness of the crime. I understand that. And I understood that at the time. Of course, I went willingly. I didn't fight or argue. Got bailed out, went to went back home and awaited sentencing and all that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, what it came down to was I was looking at 57 years.
Horrible.
The judge did show some leniency, thought a lot of it was ridiculous. And I ended up getting 11 months in prison. Or I served 11 months. I was given 3 years. Excuse me, 3 years, but I served 11 months. But that's where I learned, being in your darkest point in life, being confined to a cell. It's like when you were a kid and you were sent to your room, you couldn't get out. You couldn't go anywhere.
Only worse.
As an adult, it's hell.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of time to think in there. Had a lot of time to read. I read a lot of medical books and things. I didn't have much to read. But that dark time, laying in there, I'm like, Todd, it can't get any worse than this. It can't. I took, because when I came out of prison, I was not society ready at all.
Really?
No. I snapped when I was in there. I had a mental snap and was found rocking back and forth in a corner, basically, in my room, institutionalized for 2 months after that.
Wow. That's heavy.
So I fight alcoholism. I fight bipolar disorder. I fight Crohn's disease, but by God, I fight.
But by God, you have a great story to tell, and you survived, and you've put a lot of beautiful things together because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a beautiful voice.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we're blessed to have you here doing what you do.
I love it.
And that's quite a story. And I'm just glad that you've made it. And you're our mental health, we don't talk about it enough.
Mm-mm.
And it's a problem. And I've never been a depressed person. I was born very, very happy, very happy, always. Until, and I've had a lot of trauma and loss in my life, with my parents passing when I was pretty young, and friends when I was young, and things like that. A lot of loss. But COVID played with my mental health and millions of other people's mental health. And I got in a depression and have been coming out of a depression. We don't talk about it, and we need to be there for each other,
Mm-hmm.
And so through the system, when you got out, what happened after that? After the 11 months and the pulling it back together from there, because the person that you were when you walked in was not the person that you were when you walked out. Okay. And so it's a society, a prison probably, that just breaks you down and
it
rips
breaks you down to the core,
rips your soul apart. And I'm so sorry that you had that experience. And
I think, at that point in my life, I needed my soul ripped apart like that, because back then you wouldn't have given me the time of day, and I wouldn't have given you the time of day, Lisa. I was a completely different person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had to go through that. It's the only thing I can do to explain it, to break free, to rebuild, to reboot. And once I got out of there and the institution, I had to be reintroduced to society. That I had a counselor had to come and bring me to a restaurant, bring me to a bank, things like that.
Wow, relearn life again.
Yeah, it was a little tough.
Yeah,
and I still struggle with it.
Uh-huh.
I still struggle with it today. But it's gotten a lot better.
That's
You never would have seen me on video. This never would have happened.
Me either.
It always would have been behind the scenes.
I blame my daughter. I'm calling her out. Selena Rose, for pushing me on video. Not in a million years would I be on video either. you know? And she's like, Mom, we got to get on TikTok, blah, blah, blah. So I feel that part. Like, it's so funny because I want to circle back to when we're born. Prior to that, I'm going to go, not circle back, I'm going to throw it back. What I know to be true about spirit is that we sign up for these contracts of our life, and we look at them, and we agree to all this stuff that we're going through. And you can believe it or not, but I've talked to a lot of souls, and I've had my own experience at a young age with my progressive mother, to know that we sign up for this lifetime. We know what we're getting into, and we say, okay, we're going to take that contract and live this life and go through all this stuff to become who we're meant to be. Have you heard that before?
Yes.
And then in the middle of it, you're like, WTF, did I really sign up for this? Like, did I really pick those parents and those friends or those whatever it is, or this situation to become who I'm supposed to be? Because the truth is that when people say, oh, you're spiritual or whatever, it's like, we're all spiritual because
Yes,
we're
I believe
spirit
that.
first, you know? And it's our thoughts and consciousness that block you or not to knowing more about spirituality. But we are a spirit first, put in a body so our soul can grow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you had to go through, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But you already knew it because you signed up for it.
Had to grow. And I don't know. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Today.
I know I went through hell, but I had to go through hell. A lot of people go through hell.
Yeah.
And it's just it's the nature of the beast. It's why I had to write. I had to get it out. I had to, because I've been carrying it around for so long. And
Can you say the name of your book again, please?
The Haunted Voice.
The Haunted Voice. And also, I want to talk real quick about that you're a narrator of the Ghost Finders TV show. And how did that happen?
That was a lot of fun. Rob came to me one day and he says, Todd, I like your tones.
Yeah. That's what I said.
And then it was born. It was born. I started helping them in season 11. They're on Paraflix, Roku, Apple, Spirit Channel, all kinds of places, these guys.
Oh, okay.
Great group of people. And the narration is so fun because it's a challenge, because I'm not there.
Right.
But I have to narrate all this stuff, do all this stuff.
Does it come in movie form for you, and then you watch what's going on and then tell the story? What is it?
It comes in an email. I'll have my scripts.
Oh.
Or a text, and I'll have my scripts. And excuse me, I'm the last person. So they'll film, they'll do the investigation, they'll film, they'll do everything. I'm the last thing that goes on before it's released. So, I mean, around here in the house, whenever Ghost Finders messages come in, the world stops. You know, I have to get, because they're needed like yesterday, because
wow.
He's always behind with production because it takes so long. But it's so much fun.
That's great.
You get to, in your head, you get to go to all these different places that you never would be able to go.
And tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
That's
history.
very
I
cool.
love narrating history. It's one of my favorites, the historical aspects of it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And let's talk about WLTK-DB Talk Radio, which is what I'm part of. Mm-hmm. And that I feel so grateful to be part of the family. And you created this beautiful space for people like me, right? That do cool things or believe in cool, afterlife and meditations and energy work. So can you just tell us a little bit about that and that platform? Yeah. And where did it go to listen?
I wanted a place for people to come that weren't tech savvy, because when I was a host all those years, and I still am a host, but
yeah, you are.
It's tough to run your own show and do all the tech work and then take care of your guest. So I wanted to make a place where anybody could come and learn and reach so many people, because this station is my safe place. This station is what keeps me on the straight and narrow, because I don't have time to get in trouble. So
Mhm.
this station and all the hosts, I love them. They're all family. Sherry and I adore all you guys, and it's it happened one day that this is my second one. Before, we only got a few minutes, but this is my second station. The first one I sold for a nice profit, but it didn't have any paranormal, so I didn't like that.
Right.
So I wanted a place where people could feel safe, that mixed what when I say paranormal, I mean all encompassing. That's how I feel.
When you say paranormal, there's psychic mediums. What's
See,
some of the other?
when you say the word paranormal, people immediately think ghosts or
Yeah,
spirits or
exactly.
aliens or something.
Right.
But actually, paranormal just means not normal. It's not of the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And like you with your mediumship readings and things. And it's a safe place for all of us to share. And it's free for people to listen. I wanted it to be free for people to listen, because you should not have to pay for this kind of good information.
Right. Bigfoot. Someone's commenting Bigfoot. I'll read a couple of the comments. Thank you so much for being here. There's the unspoken things. Courtney says the unspoken things. Yeah. People that people, shy away from too. Like, to me, this is normal. Like, someone said to me, you're kind of weird. And I started laughing because everyone's kind of weird. Like, to me, it's not weird that I talk to people who have passed over, and that I've always been able to hear this. One of my girlfriends my entire life said, Lise, I am still blown away. I've known you forever, that you do this. Like, and only really admitted it, came out of the spiritual closet 8 years ago, and that you do this and that you're accurate at it. So you have high quality and high vibing people that you've created this beautiful group for. And, Brandon Wainwright, for example, who's a client of mine, he has the book Tyson's Gift. And when he had a session with me, I knew he was going to do Reiki. He was going to do all this stuff. And now he's written a book. He's a Reiki master, and he's just thriving. He's part of the family. And he's who got me to be part of the family.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so it's a really lovely space. So everyone, if you don't know and haven't gone to WLTK-DB Talk Radio, check it out, because there's so many great guests and hosts and collaborations going on over there. And where else can we reach you?
Oh, you can reach me, my website, toddmichaelbates.com, or over there at WLTK-DB.com online. I mean, I'm not email. The best way to contact me is through email. That's the fastest way.
Yep. And I'm so grateful for you. I really am, and being part of this group.
I'm grateful for you.
Out there, like, at the right time. I did not ever think I'd be on a podcast. I never thought I'd be doing mediumship for people around the world, and connecting and healing hearts, and doing what my spirit was told me I needed to do. And when you do that, also, like, when you find your purpose, you often have to leave people behind that don't support that purpose. Have you noticed that too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as you grow, you let go of some of the people that just don't support you or believe in that. And it's just like a shedding of things to become who you're supposed to be. So for everyone listening, if you're going through it and you're becoming who you're meant to be, and you lose people and friends and family or disconnections, just know that people come in and out of our lives a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Right? And don't dim your light, is what I want to say. Never dim your light. Shine your freak flag high. Right?
More true words were never spoken.
This has been such a pleasure and an honor to have you with me. And I so appreciate you taking care of me and supporting me on this show, and letting me reach out to you whenever I need to. And shine bright. Everyone's saying shine bright.
Oh,
There-
Mr. Rob Thompson himself showed up. Looky there.
Thompson, hi Rob, I'm not knowing you. Courtney,
Hi, Rob.
higher, shine higher. Exactly. We got to keep vibing high. We are the light workers in this collective. We are the light workers, right?
Mhm.
If anyone is tuning into this, you need a part 2. Yeah, we do. We'll have to do a part 2. Jennifer says we need a part 2. Shine your light. Be who you're meant to be. And we are all sparks of the divine. Okay. And there's a lot of roads to God, higher consciousness, universe. Just be on your path. And with that, I say thank you so much, everyone, for joining me, Todd and I. I really appreciate this time. And see you next time. Thank you so much, Todd. It was a pleasure.
Oh my goodness. It was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being so vulnerable, too.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.